Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. This video includes paid promotion. Guys, I got another great video for you today. I know over the years we've talked about this concept about a $10,000 XRP. Is it feasible? Is it probable? And, taking this from a 2026 context, I think has its merits. I've done videos about this over the years. I'm just going to play you guys a clip of a video that I did, I think it was in 2019 with regards to this. This is when Mark Phillips originally did write the original article about a $10,000 XRP. So without further ado, here it is. So Easy XRP, that's at ERST69, dropped this tweet today linking to a Medium article and the author's Mark Phillips. And Mark Phillips suggests that XRP has the potential to be at a top end of $10,000 per XRP. And he says the evidence is in the design. Now, of course, that sounds amazingly great. And so I want to get into this and read a little bit of this with you guys. When XRP was created, it was designed to be a replacement for both institutional and retail financial systems in every market around the world. How do we know this? An examination of how XRP is constructed makes this evident. A somewhat famous quote from Ripple Labs co-founder Arthur Brito provides a tantalizing clue. In 2017, he wrote, XRP must be scalable to accommodate 7.5 billion people. And guys, I did a video on that a few days ago, that quote. Arthur Brito has essentially stated not so directly that XRP should be able to help facilitate the world's transactions. And so Phillips states we'll come back to that quote a little later. Right now, he wants to examine the main features of XRP that support his claim that it was designed to carry a value of $10,000 per XRP. So liquidity and availability. XRP's primary use case is to enable cross-border payments that are faster, cheaper, and more reliable than existing systems such as SWIFT. We know that. Just going to interrupt this video for a second. Here's a word from one of today's video sponsors. Guys, let's be honest, the crypto market has been moving sideways for a while now. A lot of people are just sitting on their coins waiting for that next big move. But while you're waiting, your crypto is just sitting idle in your wallet doing absolutely nothing. That's why I'm going to mention it again, the long-standing partnership I have with FortisX. Instead of letting your assets sit idle, you can put supported cryptocurrencies into FortisX liquidity pools and earn daily rewards while still keeping the flexibility to withdraw them anytime you want. And I keep working with these guys because they keep delivering. The team is public. They've successfully completed Cyberscope team verification. So that's KYC. They've passed independent security audits, and the platform has been building consistently for years. They're focused on long-term growth, transparency, and security rather than hype. In a market like this, it makes far more sense to have your crypto working for you instead of letting it sit idle. I've worked with FortisX for a long time, and if you're planning to hold your crypto anyway, I genuinely think it's one of the smartest ways to put those assets to work. Remember, investing is inherently risky. Always diversify your investments. This is not financial advice. So on Ripple's own Insights blog, Shanna Leonard explains how XRP is the only digital asset specifically designed for financial institutions and payment providers by providing them with a reliable on-demand source of liquidity for cross-border payments. According to Investopedia, liquidity describes the degree to which an asset or security can be quickly bought or sold in the market without affecting the asset's price. Now, I know that'll sound counterintuitive kind of as we go through this, but I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. What we see in today's market is price volatility as a relatively small number of investors buy and sell XRP on exchanges. So that's what we're seeing currently, right? We don't necessarily have the liquidity that we need at this moment. And so that's why you're seeing, even with small transactions, we're starting to see price rise and decrease very rapidly. And that's kind of been the story of the entire crypto market to date. There just isn't the liquidity. So liquidity for XRP or any crypto comes as the price rises. Higher prices equals higher liquidity. The fact that Ripple Labs locked up, okay, so then it talks about the escrow, the 55% of total in a time-released way has been disciplined in relocking the unsold portion. So again, the escrow is not to screw us out of our millions, guys. The escrow is to mitigate the buying and selling. When this thing scales at max potential, the prices will rise, but we can't see drastic increases and decreases and increases and decreases. The price will rise eventually with the liquidity. And again, the escrow is to help mitigate that. And Ripple is saying, look, we're doing this escrow thing to kind of help that as we kind of move through this process. So in the previous 6 months, XRP's prices range from 25 cents to 60 cents, which represents a 120% range either side of the median. Even though this is a massive movement, it is not problematic for institutional use because XRP's fast 1 to 5 second settlement times. So what is problematic, however, is that the price movement was driven by relatively small retail investments. So again, there was the lack of liquidity, right? To move value on the scale of Swift's $5 trillion of daily transactions requires much more liquidity than is available in today's XRP pool. If some 45 billion XRP are available, this would require a price of approximately $111. We know that some of the XRP supply has been burnt or lost, and much larger percentage is probably locked up as long-term investors hold XRP, such as you and I, guys. Thus, an even smaller supply of XRP requires an even higher price to provide the minimum liquidity to accommodate SWIFT. So right now, because of the lack of liquidity, XRP cannot facilitate these transactions, and this is why they are setting up liquidity pools around the globe. They're partnering with Coins.ph, Bitso, Bittrex, so on and so forth. And they're continuing to partner with even more liquidity providers to be able to have these liquidity pools placed around the globe in order for this to happen. So this problem compounds when XRP's use cases are factored in. So this is not even to mention all the spring initiatives that are going to happen. So all these things will drive demand for liquidity. Fortunately, this added demand will also drive the price, which will provide the liquidity. So in fact, this creates a virtuous circle in which demand increases price, which increases liquidity and demand. So the fact that there isn't a lot of liquidity means that the market will be volatile in that XRP will command a higher price because there just isn't enough of it at a certain price. Let's say somebody wants to buy 1,000, but only one person is selling 10, and then the next person is selling 20, and the next person is selling 30. As the price moves up, then the price will shoot up drastically. The same will happen when one sells XRP. But in a world where there will be so much demand for XRP, we need to have the liquidity, even just to be able to maintain a sufficiently high enough price for companies to be able to transact efficiently and effectively amongst each other. So how high can this go? If the entire 1.14 trillion value of all asset classes was tokenized via XRP, that would require at least 11,400 per XRP. Okay, this isn't likely to happen, but it demonstrates the scale of liquidity that XRP is designed to handle. So all value asset classes valued at 1.14 trillion. Let's say in 10 years, everything becomes tokenized. Everybody's on the XRP train. We could possibly see an XRP at 11,000 theoretically. But what about the other end? So divisibility. In his briefish history of XRP, James Hunt noted that there is a max supply of 100 billion XRP being divisible by 6 decimal places, meaning that the smallest unit, one drop, is 1/1,000,000th of 1 XRP. Why would XRP designers make the token so divisible? At a value of 31 cents, this is absurd, of course, right? After all, who could possibly require the use of 1/1,000,000th of 31 cents? But at a much higher token value, and this is the thing, when XRP was created, and the same with Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin divisibility, I'm just going to talk about this for a second here. Bitcoin divisibility, this is why some refer to infinite divisibility, because we can select the level that we need as time goes on. So this is for Bitcoin. The current level selected is the code by Satoshi, and that is at 8 decimal places. So 1 Bitcoin can be divisible by 8 decimal places. So 0.000000001 BTC is 1 Satoshi. That is the smallest possible unit, and that is embedded directly in the code. What they are saying, though, is that Bitcoin is theoretically infinite in its divisibility. And I'm not a big coder or anything like that, but I'm sure that has to do with the code and changes that would need to occur with the code. But getting back to XRP here, the fact that they have made XRP divisible to 5 decimal spots just goes to show you that it is meant to be used as a token of high value in order to facilitate these transactions. We got to remember, guys, XRP was designed out of Bitcoin's failures. We saw how Bitcoin failed over the years, and now the masterminds behind XRP are creating a token, or have rather created a token that has fixed all those mistakes. So they have made it divisible by 5 decimal spots, and Mark Phillips describes this here, but at a much higher token value, say $10,000 per XRP, that divisibility makes sense for 2 reasons: low transaction costs and affordability for small retail use. And as we know, XRP is touted as being a solution for the unbanked, also for micropayments. Not to mention all the other use cases that it can handle. So low transaction costs. The XRP Ledger dev portal notes that the minimum transaction cost required by the network for a standard transaction is 0.00001 XRP, so that's 10 drops. It sometimes increases due to higher than usual load. So even at a $10,000 XRP value, the transaction cost still would only be approximately 10 cents US. So affordability, 1 cent, is arguably the smallest denomination that would be necessary to use XRP as a means of transacting everyday retail exchanges, even in developing markets where much of the population is unbanked. This could provide affordable access, and so I talked a little bit about the unbanked here. And then it talks a little bit about who's unbanked, in what countries. Guys, I'll link this article in the description if you want to read the whole thing. And then he finally gets back to Arthur Britto's statement that the XRP ledger needs to be able to scale to serve 7.5 billion people and even more devices. A new account mechanism that should allow the XRP ledger to efficiently service humanity scale usage is in development. This would allow everyone to have an account on the XRP ledger for low cost while providing the necessary performance for humanity level service. I expect most users of XRP will use hosted accounts for their day-to-day needs, holding small amounts of XRP, placing orders, and making payments. So this is his prediction here. The design decisions that went into creating XRP's structure lead me to believe that it was designed to operate at a $10,000 per XRP price to serve a truly global market. And so, guys, this isn't happening tomorrow, by the way. Mark Phillips is just kind of giving his input on once XRP is in the eyes and minds of the world, once everybody realizes that it is the better way to go, it is already structured. There doesn't need to be any retooling. It is already structured to be a $10,000 per XRP price and still be able to function properly. So that was part of the problem with Bitcoin and with the proof of work. As the price rose of Bitcoin, it wasn't efficient to make transactions. Also, it took way too long. XRP has already solved these problems. So the obvious question that any XRP holder will ask now is, will it get that high? Of course, that's what we're all thinking, right? I sure hope so, but there are no guarantees. If it happens, I don't think it will be in the next 5 years, and that's exactly what I think too. To see a $10,000 XRP, we could see one down the road. You know, it took Bitcoin to get this far, and we're only just getting started with this cryptocurrency revolution. So I think one thing that really hits the nail on the head here was that mysterious XRP dev, Arthur Britto, and his post regarding that 7.5 billion people. I have this article. This was actually from last year, June 2025. XRP co-developer Arthur Britto has reappeared after years of silence. This is when he posted the smileless or the mouthless face emoji on his X account. He posted a single emoji. And this was the guy, as they mentioned here, one of Britto's rare public statements on XRP forecasted tremendous upside. XRP must be scalable to accommodate 7.5 billion people. And guys, he wrote that in 2017. So it really kind of goes to show you where his head was at in terms of XRP being able to move all the money. Again, a statement, a bold statement regarding XRP as a, well, not just a cryptocurrency, but as a technology, as a global technology. Obviously, he had faith that Ripple would be able to make those partnerships. So there you go. The day after I posted that video, I had a lot of naysayers in the comment section. So I had to address a few more things with regards to a $10,000 XRP. Here's a clip from the video I did the very next day. Listen to this. Thank you very much to Mark Phillips for writing that article for the Medium. I did want to make a change, and it looks like he did make the change here. I think in the original article, he wrote $1.14 trillion value of all asset classes. And what he meant was 1.14 quadrillion. So there's the change. I believe he did make it in the article. Nevertheless, wanted to thank Mark Phillips for that. And of course, I'm going to get backlash. How could you first? No, the best one is first 589, now 10,000 per XRP. Are you out of your mind? And first of all, I got to say, a lot of people just look at the title and don't actually watch the video. Because at no moment in time in yesterday's video did I ever say that it was going to reach $10,000 per XRP. All I suggested and all Mark Phillips suggested is that XRP is created to be able to handle $10,000 per XRP, whether that's tomorrow or whether that's in 30 years from now. 50 years from now. And yes, I could see the XRP coin eventually hit $10,000 per coin. Whoa. But before you guys start throwing rotten tomatoes at me, here's the reason for that. So of course, Galgatron's got to stomp on my dreams right out of the gate with this lengthy article regarding why I'm incorrect and why XRP could never, ever in a million years hit $10,000 per coin. Gotta hand it to Galgatron though. Thank you very much for standing up for what you believe in. This tweet actually garnered a lot of response and a lot of people engaged, which was very great. But there are a few things that people haven't really put into perspective. When you say $10,000 per XRP, if I were to give that price prediction and say that that is going to happen tomorrow, that is going to happen in a year from now, that is going to happen in 2 years from now, that is even going to happen in 5 years from now, it's very unlikely because our market just isn't there yet. But think about it for a second. This article just came out. PayPal CEO predicts digital payments industry will mature into a $100 trillion market. This is the CEO of PayPal. PayPal is used all around the world right now to transfer funds digitally. Okay, digital commerce is not getting any less popular. Digital commerce is just getting more popular. And so he says that he could actually see the market grow to $100 trillion. So that is huge. A lot of us don't want to believe that $10,000 per coin is possible because we're only looking at it in this narrow perspective of what our market conditions are today. And if you're young, for example, and I'm not putting down young people, but if you don't really have a good grasp on historical economics, and maybe you're just into this, you're new to it in the last 6 months or something, that is something that you should really consider because our economy will change, it will expand. The population on Earth is only getting larger, and moreover, retail markets, for example, are becoming less and less brick and mortar and more online, as the CEO of PayPal suggests. The second thing we have to consider is the fact that the value of our dollar, because of inflation, has gone down and down over the years. And this is just a chart kind of demonstrating where our dollar was in. So it compares $100. So in 1915, if you had $100, it would be worth $100. It kind of took a baseline from 100 years ago. This article was written in 2015, and I guess the author just kept updating it. But 100 years later, that $100 would be worth $2,324. No, that's not considering interest, guys. This isn't an interest chart or an interest calculator. That is just because of inflation. And because of inflation, our money is worth less. I know on this chart it looks like it's worth more, but think of it this way. If you could buy something in 1915 that was worth $100, you could buy the same thing today, the exact same item, for $2,300, or rather $2,487 today in 2019. The point I'm trying to make here is that inflation exists and it is devaluing your money every year. So in 30 years, in 40 years, how much is your dollar going to be worth? And so fiat money's worth is based on what your government says it's worth. And we have no control over that. So to see an XRP hitting $10,000 in 50 years, in 60 years, in 30 years, I don't know. What's your dollar going to be worth then? Again, very interesting questions we have to wrap our head around, and this is why it has to be built and designed to sustain that price. Okay, this isn't happening tomorrow. I'm not suggesting that $10,000 per XRP is happening in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years even. But guys, when you raid Twitter and you start saying, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. First he said 589, now he's saying this, now he's saying that. It's like, guys, use your effing brains. So inflation is one thing, not having control over what the dollar is worth because of government intervention, and that kind of goes along with this. Just wanted to give you an example here. With the Zimbabwe dollar, $1 US is worth 361.9 Zimbabwean dollars. And we've seen these political economical problems around the world in countries like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, where their currency is hyperinflated because of government intervention, because of a problem, a catastrophe. And governments have chosen to do this. And the result is people wheelbarrowing piles of money to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread. So in the worst case scenario, if there is ever a political economic problem in the United States and this happens, God forbid, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it happens, the US dollar could collapse, and therefore a price of $10,000 per XRP isn't so crazy after all, because again, your fiat is only worth what your government decides based on where they decide to put this decimal point. So some food for thought. I never said that XRP was going to hit $10,000. All I suggested was this, that building an XRP token right now to withstand a $10,000 price might be a little overkill, but absolutely necessary if our pristine tropical climate turns into an apocalyptic gale force ice rain blizzard in the next 24, 48, or 72 hours. Being prepared doesn't hurt anyone. So there you guys have it. I wanted to bring this up, the XE converter. We talked a little bit about the Zimbabwe dollar at that time. And as you guys can see since then, so that was from 2019, the Zimbabwe dollar has become obsolete. And even if you just take a look at the current Zimbabwe dollar, it is now at 26 for $1 US. But if you take a look at what the old one was before it went obsolete, it was still at $358. So hyperinflated, just to give you guys some context in 2026. The other thing I wanted to talk about this $10,000 XRP is the fact that we have Swift on board and we have DTCC on board. So I thought I'd take it to Grok and just ask, okay, if all the transactional volume of Swift went through the XRP ledger, theoretically, what could the price of XRP get to? Now we know not all the volume is going to go through the XRP ledger. However, Grok had some interesting points to bring up here. It brings up a theoretical price formula, okay, using the quantity theory approximation. So total annual transaction volume divided by circulating supply times annual velocity. We are looking anywhere between a 25-cent XRP to a $2,500 XRP. Now, again, this doesn't mean that XRP is going to be, taking 100% of Swift's business. I mean, even Brad Garlinghouse did suggest that they would only get about 14% by the year 2030. But guys, that certainly doesn't address all the other partnerships and all the other utility that we're going to see for XRP. I asked the same question when it came to DTCC. If all the transactional volume of DTCC went through the XRP ledger, theoretically, what could the price of XRP get to? So we have theoretically, under extreme bullish assumptions, XRP could reach thousands to tens of thousands of dollars per token if it captured a large share or all of DTCC's massive transactional volume. And I will link these in the description of the video for you. Basically, we have XRP supply. So we got fixed supply. We have the circulating supply as of July 2026. We have the theoretical price model down here. But ultimately, we want to know if it did capture only 1%, guys, that means we would get an XRP somewhere in the $370 range. If it captured 10%, that's $3,700. If it caught 50%, that is $1.85 quadrillion. That would make an XRP go up to about $18,500 per coin. And if it captured 100%, of course, we're not going to capture 100%. We know this already, but just to give you guys a for instance, we could see a $37,000 XRP. So quite frankly, I don't think a $10,000 XRP is out of the cards, especially when you look at it from a 2026 context. That's just my opinion. If you guys want to hear more opinions about where I think the market's going to go, you can always follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. I'm also offering 15% off at the Working Money Channel merch store if you guys are interested in helping to support the channel maybe in a different way by purchasing some Working Money Channel merch. Link is in the description of the video. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.